Reason I was given originally as to why there was this raid was because this was an owner that was taking advantage of the workers. But immigration was the #1 priority at that time to straighten out the immigration system in the U.S., which was broken, but not broken the way it is now, not broken the way it's become over the last decade or so. So at the time, they were trying to get an immigration bill through. The point of the matter was, though, that they, I believe, decided that they needed some demonstrations as to what it would look like. This is something that's been perpetrated on New Bedford by the Bush administration as these talks for immigration reform are beginning to falter. What I do remember is they said, this is completely confidential. This is not an operation that we can do safely if anyone knows about it. The only people that I know of in the city that were informed was the police chief and me. Nobody else. It led to consequences where basically 350 people all of a sudden disappear from the city who have all kinds of obligations, landlord obligations, payment obligations. You then look at it and say, okay, who takes care of these issues? The only thing I remember distinctly was trying to get a hold of Chertoff, who was the head of Homeland Security, and saying to him, do you realize that we have pretty close to 100 kids who are associated with the people you just deported in the city, who I am now the guardian of as mayor? Do you realize that our school system has 100 kids who normally go home at night to parents, and the parents aren't going to be there? Do you realize that there's a half a dozen or so, or a dozen kids who are still being, or infants who are being nursed by their mothers? Explain to me what was happening in New Bedford that was a national security issue. It could have easily been resolved by, again, lining everyone up, giving them a ticket, telling them you got to be here. It was working people. This wasn't a situation where they were rounding up MS-13 and saying, you're very welcome, we've just resolved a major issue for your city. These were people who were assimilating, like it or not, based on the immigration system, into our economic system, into our social system, creating their own community. The idea that you'd round them all up, put them in a bus, say, hey, don't worry about it, I know you're supposed to be home at 4, but you're going to be home maybe never, you may be deported right away. It doesn't work for a city. I think that was what the lesson was supposed to be. If you can't come up with an immigration bill, if you can't come up with an immigration system, if one of the alternatives is picking people up and basically detaining them and shipping them out, this is what it's going to look like. I don't think there's a parallel in any way between what's happening today and what happened then. I think what happened then was street theater. The government for a long time was an enabler regarding the immigration issues. Now we have a new administration. They say the buck stops here, forget it. Anybody here illegally has got to go. You better figure out how to do this. You are not going to round up 7 million people and do it in an appropriate way, a moral way. It is going to tear the fabric of the society of America apart.